Welcome. In this edition of Down to Earth, we'll be talking about some of the very important points. The first is the Gadchiroli district in Maharashtra. Here, Maryagon tribes are there and they are considered as the most backward and primitive tribe. However, they have been involved with exercising democratic rights, and that is one of the major things. Now, what are the major species found here are Kusum, Tendu, Mahua, and these have been one of the major mainstays for the economy here. However, prevention of illegal felling and cattle grazing is one of the major aspects that people work on. Now, Madhya Pradesh is the first state to implement a three-tier democratic Panchayati Raj grassroots level system with village level, block level and Zilla level council as per the Constitutional Amendment Act 1992. Now here, the powers are demarcated between Gram Sabha and the village local bodies, and then women welfare, local rural development campaigns, child development are some of the important tasks. So any disputes related to land, any dacoit which is growing in the region, the survey of the forest area are some of the important things. Now besides this, what are the schemes working here? Jawahar Rojgar Yojana and Indira Awas scheme. Olive riddled sea turtles are found near the Gahirmatha coast in Odisha. However, for the last 2 years, we have not seen so much. Before, it was a case that whole of the sand area was covered by a sheet of turtles, it appeared so. So thousands of turtles were seen. However, the population has been declining. It is believed a lot of females have been killed, and there are male species which post mating go deeper into the marine water. The reason is to avoid the trawlers net which are located in those areas. Now there has been two important reasons which are cited for those. One is the intensified fishing activity and the trawler nets, because of which this species is getting affected. Gahirmatha is considered as one of the mass nesting sites for the olive riddle turtles. Now, the two major seasons during which they are seen is January, February and April and May. The next is shifting agriculture, that is moving from one place to another. So, agriculture in one parcel of land, then the land is not able to have the fertile material. So, that area is burnt. We call it also slash and burn, zooming and shifting cultivation, and the next patch of the land is cultivated. Now, zoom cultivation in India is commonly seen in the northeast India. However, there have been ecological issues regarding it, and alternative farming systems are replacing these in the states like Meghalaya. The next is Vanthungias. They are hidden from the outside world. They are nearly 26,000 people who are facing identity crisis in the regions of Gorakhpur, and the very reason is the forest areas are being affected and they are becoming illegal settlers. So in 1922, British government started growing sal trees and laborers were brought from Burma, and for this the local people took the scheme of being fed by the beggar system or the slavery of the zamindar, and since independence this system has been supporting the Tongya scheme. So a very important topic again. The next is selling the river water. So in India, the first private project for supplying water from the Shivnath river to the industry has been demarcated. Now NGOs are opposing this project because this would affect the common population, and Borai industrial growth area is one of the areas which has been getting the water out of it. The villages from where the water would be drawn are the 5 villages. The names have been cited here: Rasmat, Siloda, Mohali, Piparchadi and Mahara, and these would be affected. The next is electronic waste. Nearly 4 lakh tons of electronic waste is generated every year in India, and this is growing further exponentially. Most of this scrap is being taken care by the unorganized sector. The gold and the copper from the circuit boards is dismantled. The equipments which are coming from Japan have a better quality gold and copper as compared to that of China, and it's easier to fetch those. The remaining plastic parts are melted and toxic fumes are released out of it. So 90% of the e-waste generated goes into the unorganized market, which is not the right way we should consider. The next is Chhattisgarh. There has been an overemphasis on women's sterilization, and this has been one of the major issues which has been seen in Takhtpura block in Bilaspur. there have been hospital government doctors which are going through this mass sterilization, and where nearly 13 women actually died in this process. To increase the compensation for those involved in the sterilization services, 11 states have come up so far. The list has been given, which would be available in the handouts as well. The next is, the idea was to double the farmers' income by 2022. However, we have seen there is no close to the reality. The economic survey has released the growth rate at only 2.88%, which is relatively low. And there have been development, however, for the Krishi Vigyan Kendra, and the local villages have been developed. Water crisis is another major issue. The Pulikat Lake has been turning into a fresh water, and this was initially a brackish water supplying water to the region of Chennai, and there have been issues of building up dikes which are around 400 meters along the interface of the lake, and a lot of amount is going into the same. Aral Sea is again one of the environmental concerns, because here where the watershed meets Aral in the News, which is the capital of Palakistan, which is a part of Uzbekistan, has been one of the areas where one of the meetings is organized and jointly being considered by Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Kyrgyzstan. Now, the objective is to deal with the crisis which is being faced in the Aral Sea. The major issues is humanitarian aid, sustainable development, and ecological restoration. Aral Sea has basically, the idea is a lot of water is being utilized for irrigation of the cotton and the rice, and the volume of the water present in it is reducing. As a result, the salt concentration in the water increases. Now, this would probably disappear in the next 20 years to go. The next is higher use of pesticides being linked to cancer and other disorders, which is again a cause of concern. So, there are various malignant tissues which are affected. The nerve endings of the cells are affected. Paralysis is one of the another cases. The next is earthquake witnessed, one of the major earthquakes in the Bhuj region in 2002, and then we had the Bhuj as one of the hottest spots. Since then, there have been contractors and builders coming up with disaster management and mitigation. So, the poor construction methods have been floated, the bylaws and the regulations have been brought into consideration, and new building designs norms have been brought. More than 75 high-rise buildings have come up in Ahmedabad. Only 2-story buildings are allowed in the region of Bhuj. 90% of the buildings in the Bhuj are now earthquake resistant. However, there is a higher amount of steel that has to be used. Earlier, it was around 30 kg of steel per square meters, but in reality, it has been brought down to 10, which is again a matter of great concern. The next is guns and water. So, it's allowing channelizing the water. One of the dacoits known as Jagdish Gujjar has came into existence with the region of Karauli district in Rajasthan, the Saputara Tehsil, and this focuses on the idea run by Tarun Bharat Sangh, which is Pahad Par Pani, the water in the mountains, and this field has brought in water in the scarce areas and brought in women saving groups which is conserving the water. The next is Zaria coalfield from Jharkhand in the Kujma village. There is a war zone, and this is basically affecting the life of the people. There are several households and temples who have become debris. Cracks in the floor are seen. There is smoke all around. High quality coal is turned into ash, and this is where we need to take into account how the life of the people is at the threat of subsistence, with nearly 0.4 million population living in the region of Zaria. Illegal open cast mining have increased. Post nationalization, there have been huge number of fires, widespread fires in the region. A master plan needs to be prepared, and the things need to be brought into a right path. The next is Hilsa fish. Hilsa fish is actually a fish which is androdamus in nature, and it swims against the tide to spawn in the river away from Bangladesh. Now, this is one of the most detectable fishes that goes farther up river. However, the scientists have found that this fish for more than 20 years would move from Bay of Bengal to Bangladesh, the Padma and the Meghna river for the purpose of spawning. However, there have been recent issues to it. For the past 10 years, there are submerged islands which have increased in the ocean near Bangladesh, and Hilsa has preferred unhindered migration over the years so far. But later, the supply of the water through the Indo-Bangladesh Treaty has been affected, and this has led to decline in the number of the fishes, also due to the pollution in the Halda region in Chittagong and the rivers in the Seliat district. Now, there have been various issues regarding the clinical tests and the medicines which are released. So 5% of the clinical trials are conducted worldwide in India. Schedule Y of the Cosmetic and Drug Act talks about the drugs being monitored by the Drug Control Journal of India and the Ethical Committee. However, no trials could start without the consent being given by the committee. So there are 7 members who are part of it. There are clinical trials which are conducted by Ziving Consultancy, a Gurgaon-based clinical trial consultancy, and this has been affecting the region. The next is the forest drought. In India, so far we talked about the water scarcity. However, recently we have seen that there are spells where forest drought is again a major issue because forests are not getting enough water as they should be. Now, residents who are dependent on the minor forest produce, for example, Tendu or Mahua, are actually suffering because of it. Loss of crop and disappearance of the forest product are a result of this. So, there is no official nomenclature or plan to deal with any kind of forest drought in India so far, and this has not been even mentioned in the crisis management plan. Also, there have been big publishers. There is the next thing where we talk about ResearchGate, who has taken up the big publishers for any kind of copyright infringements. Now, there have been popular users with more than 13 million users. Berlin-based this company talks about Information Society Network. There have been investors from Goldman Sachs, Bill Gates, who have been investing it. Similar other networks are Academia and Science Hub. There have been copyright infringements which are reported on a massive scale. So there are nearly 2.5 million papers which are uploaded on ResearchGate every month. However, mass copyright infringements have been found, and huge number of papers have been pulled along with the data from the platform since the first takedown notice. The next is diabetes is common among the getting common among the tribal population. One of the major reasons is undernutrition and heavy reliance on the rice consumption. There have been higher than required BMI for the tribals, and this is one of the reasons which is also affecting the diabetes in the region. Now, specifically people with high sugar levels can get it controlled by the oral medication. However, there are patients who suffer from fibrocalculous pancreatic diabetes, which is uncommon but a severe form of diabetes. Many of them suffer from obesity. There is lean diabetes term which was introduced in 1965, which talks about dual stress between starvation and overload on carbohydrate. So undernutrition on one side and higher dependence on rice on the other side leads to lean diabetes. Low birth weight and malnutrition under 5 is again rampant, which could have future consequences on the population. So those are some of the important things that we have discussed in this down to earth edition. We will be bringing many interesting facts and figures for you on a regular basis through down to earth Yoojna and Kurukshet. Highly important for your prelims as well as mains for case studies. Also, mains answer writing classes would start immediately after your prelims. Stay tuned.